Seems the current trend in LA is to bulldoze and bury history, as we have seen this almost occur last week with the Marilyn Monroe Brentwood home that almost went through a demolition process. But fortunately, with the help of our councilwoman Tracy Park, there has been some process and quite some change. But unfortunately, there are other areas, in particular one that we're going to talk about today on this episode, and that is the historical 168-year-old Mexican restaurant La Golondrina, which is located off of Olvera Street in Little Mexico. And as of today, it looks like it is close to being sold and quite possibly erased from our history once again. Let's sit down with our friend Spooky Foodie Ansley as we hear about the updates and what is currently going to happen if the Gomez family who owns the restaurant can't find the help or the funds to help pay the lawyer's fee to help fight this fight against the city in order to save La Golondrina. Let's sit with Ansley as we learn more about what's happening, a little more about the history of the restaurant along with its haunted history, and ways that you can help support the family, the Gomez family, in order to help save this wonderful piece of history and culture in Little Mexico here in downtown Los Angeles. Now, you know the drill. Usually we ask you to pretty much prepare a circle of salt, but we want you to grab your positive crystals, send out a positive intention to the Gomez family and to Olvera Street, because we don't even know if it's going to last even within the next year or two. But let's get Holly weird and learn more about the history and haunted history of La Golondrina and Olvera Street here in downtown Los Angeles, Little Mexico. Let's get Holly weird in Little Mexico, y'all. Hey friends, our Holly Weirdos. We would usually save this message for our outro, but we found it much more important to really fit this in for our intro because it is a call to action. In this episode, you will definitely hear about what's going on with this wonderful piece of historical property located in downtown Los Angeles off of the historical Olvera Street, which is Little Mexico. And there's so many amazing vendors and even old school restaurants and brick and mortars that have been there since the beginning of the birth of this beautiful city that we call LA. And Casa La Golondrina Cafe is one of those places that is crying out, not even yelling, but they're crying and begging for help because the city of Los Angeles is not doing that. And how can we love a city that doesn't love us back? But we can ask the people in it for that love and for that support. We have teamed up with Ansley of Spooky Foodie to do this episode just to send out a message, to send out to our listeners. If you have $1, just $1, if you can at least send it to the Gomez family, the family that has been trying to fix and bring La Golondrina back to his feet so we can have those celebrations, that we can celebrate Dia de los Muertos, that we can have those dances on the rooftop and those amazing parties and, of course, those margaritas in this beautiful establishment. And they do have a GoFundMe page that I'm going to share with you right now. We're also going to link it to this episode. If you go to GoFundMe.com and in the search bar, please type in "Help Us Beat the City of Los Angeles and Open." That right there should tell you how dire the situation is. With a label like that, "Help Us Beat the City of Los Angeles and Open." They just need $20,000 to cover the legal fees and costs to help them fight the lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. They are very grateful for whatever donation you can. If you do not have $1, we understand. If you can at least copy and paste and share this link that we're going to post to this episode, that is also doing some work as well. We can help bring back history. We can help keep it alive instead of having it turned into another Whole Foods, instead of having it turned into another Starbucks, because we don't need any more of those. We still need history because we need that history to tell the stories of those who are no longer here. And we don't want La Golondrina to be one of those places that will no longer be here. We want it to survive for a very, very long time. History in LA does not deserve to be bulldozed, nor does it deserve to be buried, but it deserves to stay and remain alive. We understand that Los Angeles itself is a city of ghosts, but this restaurant should not be a ghost of its own time. It should be a place where those ghosts tell those stories, because La Golondrina also has a lot of haunted history, and we could save those ghosts and this establishment, then we've done our jobs, right? We've done our jobs. And if you can at least try to help and just spread the word and share a buck or two, that would really help the Gomez family. But get this, when this restaurant opens again, because it will, because they will beat this, because they will fight a good fight and win, and we will be putting this energy out there. We will be teaming up. Hollyweird Paranormal will be teaming up with Spooky Foodie, and we'll coordinate one hell of a spooky evening at La Golondrina to talk about the history and the ghost stories, and possibly do a little walking ghost tour and investigation at this location. We'll make this happen. But in order to make this happen, we have to raise the money to help this family out. So please, please, please donate what you can, share, and remember once more that history is like ghosts and they demand to be remembered. Okay, friends, now let's get Hollyweird. Los Angeles is a city filled with history, stories, and of course, ghosts. And we've mentioned this time and time again. And if you ever want to learn more about the many histories and stories and even haunted history of the city, then I highly recommend that you at least try to set foot in Olvera Street while it's still there. There's more than just ghost stories and history. There's also a story of food. And that food is definitely brought alive in one particular magnetic and beautiful restaurant, a very historical and close to being 200-year-old restaurant, and that is La Golondrina Cafe. And when we talk about spirits and ghosts, we talk about one particular spirit, and that is Consuelo Castillo de Bonzo. Consuelo was known to be the spirit, and still is known to be the spirit of Mexico and the saint of Olvera Street. And she made sure that the street was going to bring a ton of Mexican charm and culture for many of thousands of people that would visit it, whether it be in the 30s when the restaurant would open, and her vision was to see it thrive within its time up until now. Consuelo was born in Mexico before her mother brought her, still a baby, to Los Angeles in 1899, and she grew up enamored of her Mexican heritage and determined to revive Mexican culture in an increasingly whitewashed Los Angeles. And according to an article in LA Weekly, in 1924, the enterprising de Bonzo, whose Italian husband had recently fallen ill, decided to open her first restaurant at 123 South Spring Street. She planned to serve traditional recipes passed down from her mother and others in the community. She also insisted on honoring her Mexican heritage and faced discrimination and skepticism as a result. According to a 1932 profile in the Times that quoted, she decided to open a Mexican restaurant where the city hall now stands, and everyone advised her not to do it. Some urged her to call it a Spanish restaurant. The health department eyed her suspiciously. She couldn't even get a license at first, but operated under a temporary permit, for authorities believed her ventures couldn't last more than a month. But she showed them. She showed such a desire to have just the place the health department would approve that she aroused interest. And when she opened the restaurant, a big banner announced Mexican cooking. It was good because she did most of it herself. She had good crowds from the first. And so the first contemporary Mexican restaurant in Los Angeles was born. And when a few years later, de Bonzo was forced to move due to the construction of the new city hall, she opened a new restaurant, which was called La Mission, which became enormously popular with both city officials and even film stars like Ramon Navarro. So it was no surprise that when socialite Christine Sterling began to lay out plans to transform Olvera Street, the site of the original Pueblo of Los Angeles into a romanticized living history replica of pre-US Los Angeles. She went to her friend De Bonzo for support, and De Bonzo told The Times it looked like an impossible dream, but it was the first important effort to give Los Angeles and its visitors a new vision of Mexico and customs. I want to aid such a movement as that, whether it succeeded or not. And succeeded it did. On April 19th of 1930, De Bonzo's new restaurant, La Golondrina Cafe, made its debut. Situated in the historic Pelancani House, LA's first brick home circa 1855, the warm and inviting cafe served as the anchor of the new Olvera Street. A banquet was held with De Bonzo's mother offering the blessing, and the doors were thrown open to LA's social elite. And the very next day, Olvera Street was officially open to the public, and it soon became a big hit along with La Golondrina. It was so charming, and what made it even more charming was the fact that the restaurant's hostess was De Bonzo, and it was an immediate hit. De Bonzo championed Mexican dancers, singers, and musicians and artists to perform at the restaurant, and this place was so poppin' that you even had Mexican superstar Dolores del Rio become a regular at this place. But it wasn't just La Golondrina that was actually getting a lot of the fame and notoriety in Olvera Street. You also had El Paseo Inn, along with Cielito Lindo and Las Anitas that were opening and becoming another hit as well. And then by the 40s, you had Juanitas that also opened and became a hit. Okay, now that we have talked about all these amazing restaurants and food, let's serve some spirits with your meal, right? And we're not talking about the ones that you sip and enjoy. We're talking about the ones that you're a little more fearful of, right? So Olvera Street is a street also known for its haunted history, because we talked about this time and time again that, Los Angeles is a city that has layers upon layers of history. And according to a 1989 Los Angeles Times article, long before it became La Golondrina in Olvera Street, during the 1930s, the 3-story building on that street was actually a brothel. And no doubt, that brothel had a lot of painted ladies and gents that like to party. And with that comes maybe some violence. It was also rumored that there were some deaths that occurred in that brothel and on that property that could result or have resulted in a haunting. So Olvera Street, along with its establishments, have their own little ghost stories. And there is one particular ghost that we'll get into with our interview with Ansley of Consuelo. She is definitely seen and felt around that restaurant, and people have definitely seen her. And there's also stories of a black candle lady that roams around Olvera Street. And then you also have the 200-year-old Avila Adobe nearby, which is reputably inhabited by a female specter who dresses in white. So we definitely have another woman in white in this area right here off of Olvera. But I will leave you with this one other ghost story. According to this 1989 LA Times article, one of our flamenco dancers, and they're referring to the dancers that would perform in La Golondrina, one of the dancers was upstairs at the time, and a whole rack of costumes fluttered as though there was a strong breeze, but there was no wind blowing. And even De Bonzo would go on the record at the time when she was living, she would recall moments that she would sleep on the second floor of that restaurant, because she at one point did have an apartment there on the second level, that she would hear sounds at night out of nowhere. And a lot of these sounds were violent sounds. She even goes and states that she has witnessed the Black Candle Lady at times walking up and down Olvera Street. But we'll be able to hear more of these ghost stories when this restaurant comes back, if it ever comes back. According to a most recent Los Angeles Times article, La Golondrina closed its doors in March of 2020 due to the COVID pandemic, and owner Vivian Bonzo eventually sought to sell the business. And that's when David and Bertha Gomez, who worked in one of the colorful candy stands along Olvera Street, offered to take over the restaurant. So the couple began the process of transferring ownership of the business in September of 2021, which is when the Board of Commissions of El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument approved the agreement. But the Gomez's claimed that they were not informed of the commission's approval until February of 2022. And according to a lawsuit they filed against the city earlier this year. However, in their lawsuit, the Gomez's argue that the city and a local labor union stalled the process for transfer of ownership of the restaurant. The Gomez's also claim that a major plumbing issue in the historic building, which the city argues is their responsibility, has prevented them from opening the business. And this has actually resulted in the Gomez's in facing eviction if they cannot pay in back rent, which is close to $250,000 and approximately $46,000 for common area maintenance fees. And this is where we're at with their legal dispute. And as of right now, they have lost out on at least 10 months of profit for the maintenance of repairs to the pipes and fees that are actually owed to their lawyer to help fight in this legal dispute. Now let's sit down with our friend Ansley of Spooky Foodie, who has been working with the Gomez's in order to help spread the word in hopes that we can help them raise the money in order to seek out legal fees to help pay for their attorney to help fight the city of Los Angeles during this pretty arduous time. She has also been sitting in the committee meetings and understanding what could be the possible fate of Olvera Street. And some of the planning is pretty bogus. Like, you wouldn't believe what they're planning on doing to this area if we do not act fast. Now let's get Holly weird with Spooky Foodie.
Hey guys, welcome to Hollywood Paranormal Podcast. I am your host, Tammy Merhab Chavez.
Hello, I'm Bryce Mitchell-Williams.
And then we have another fan favorite, our friend, Spooky Foodie of LA, Ansley of Spooky Foodie. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode.
What's up, guys? I'm so happy to be here. Love you guys.
I love you too. It's so good to see you.
I know Ansley is a podcast favorite. She's one of our favorites personally, and she's been having a very, very busy pre-Halloween, and it's just like blowing up for her ever since. She's also the ambassador of the Knott's Berry Farm Halloween extravaganza that's been going on. I mean, no one does Halloween like Universal and Knott's Berry and Disney. We got it all going on here in Los Angeles, and you're definitely a part of that, which is amazing. And you're also part of that ambassadorship with some of our friends, such as Mr. Spooky, Mitchell Ralston right there, and so many more. I think even the Goldaddies are on there as well. And it's just like a great
I love
team.
that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful team. And obviously they have you on their ambassadorship, and you're doing a wonderful job and eating all the spooky food, of course. So as you guys heard in the very beginning, we have a wonderful piece of historical property that is in a bit of a bind right now. It's in danger. And so far it seems like no place in Los Angeles is safe, even if you're Marilyn Monroe, which fortunately there is something going on, but it's not that same motion that's happening with Olvera Street. So unfortunately, we have some vendors that can't afford to stay afloat on Olvera Street, especially when it comes to one of the oldest restaurants here in Los Angeles, La Golondrina. And Ansley, you have been working with them. You've been trying to get their story out, as many people have in the past, but you have actually been really trying to figure out how we can save this piece of history, especially when it comes to this amazing restaurant where we've gotten, some pretty amazing plates and glasses of great margaritas, and of course, maybe a ghost story or two, but also a wonderful slice of history. Can you tell us what's happening and what has been the outcome as of right now? Because you've also been sitting through some of the committee meetings in order to save Olvera.
Yeah, so they're facing eviction right now, and they are suing the city of Los Angeles. So I'll get all into that. So La Golondrina got new owners right before COVID. COVID hit, couple of years went by, and then they had no employees, and they wanted to open up again. And the city of LA was like, well, you can't open up because your plumbing Like there's something wrong with your plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to check it out, and there was nothing wrong with the plumbing. And there's something that has to do with the main line. And in their lease contract with the city of LA, it says that any problem like that is LA's issue, not La Golondrina's issue. So that's the lawsuit right now against LA, is that like in this lease agreement, they didn't have to deal with any of that, but the city of LA is saying that they have to deal with that. And they're trying to evict them right now, and they owe them quote unquote, LA tons of money for neglecting the place when it's not even their problem. And they can't afford to open. They haven't had any employees. They haven't been able to open in general. They can't make this money to give to them. They just got the lease. So it's ridiculous, and they're trying to fight it. But the city of LA is like, no, we're going to evict you, which is crazy. This family has been on Olvera Street since the 1930s. The owner's son used to work in one of the candy shops, and it was his grandpa's candy shop. And then the uncle inherited it. And then, he worked there. So he's been there for so long, and he's seen the neglect lately in Olvera Street in general. Rent is being raised. Things aren't being taken care of. Vendors aren't really passionate about it anymore because no one really cares, and things are closing, and that kills the traffic. And especially this huge restaurant, it's ginormous. It's one of the biggest pieces of real estate. Having that close is killing everyone. And when it comes to vendors and businesses, you can't own a business on there unless you're a part of Olvera Street already, unless your family has already owned it. So if no one else buys this spot, which no one can because the fee is outrageous towards the city of LA, the restaurant's just going to be a ghost. And then what's next? It's just going to keep going down the line, which is really scary to me.
Really. And it's that thing where right before we started, where it's like, look, obviously this has turned into like a Save LA real estate podcast. And I'm very proud of that because I'm tired of this same story being replayed over and over. We're just seeing this happen, and it's so fast. The city's moving so quickly. These real estate developers are grabbing things up so quickly. The greed in this city, and look, it's not just an LA problem, but this is where I live, and this is where I see it. I know it's other places too, but we are watching it happen so quickly, and I'm fucking tired of watching this same thing happen over and over and over again. And like one of the things that I love about you, Ainsley, is that you're like, well, I'm not going to take this sitting down. Like we absolutely cannot just keep letting this happen to these places that we love. Like it's fucking ridiculous.
It's terrible. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, especially before, social media blew up.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as I mentioned before with Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home, I mean, the outcry and the outpour of supporters on social media, and also our council people, especially like Tracy Park, who like immediately went into action. And that's wonderful. But for the many homes and other establishments that didn't survive because, no one stepped up or no one had that same passion.
Or we just didn't know. Like,
we didn't know.
Even 10 years ago, we were not this connected. So it's just like, yeah, sorry, this is how it happens. Like, okay.
Yeah. People ask me, like, why are you so passionate about this? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you pushing this so hard? Because, like, I see, like, its future in front of my very eyes. It's, like, crumbling. And, like, there are families that have been there for almost 100 years. Like, that's a part of our history. Why are you trying to remove that? Like, why are you trying to take that away? This is so ridiculous. Like, you can't touch Olvera Street. Yeah, LA protects it, but they protect the land. Like, they're not protecting the vendors. And that is so disrespectful. Like, that just pisses me.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so passionate about it. I feel so bad for all these families.
Yeah.
Like it's heartbreaking to see.
It really is, especially for, an establishment that's been there for so long. And I mean, every time I've gone there, I've seen so many families celebrate special occasions there. They feel at home. Like you really do feel at home when you go over there. And I see why you love that place very much. It's not just about the ghost stories, but it's also about, the stories that are there. And those stories are constantly being demolished by the city, unfortunately. And it's about time, like someone really needs to step up and speak up. And I know that you've been one of the voices online doing so. You've also been a part of the committee meeting. Can you talk about what's been going on, what you witnessed, what you heard? What are any, updates in regards to any outcomes so far?
Yeah. So I went to the meeting. I was like, do you need me to be there for support? They were like, yes. I went. I was the only other person that was there with them to like speak up. When we got there, the meeting started and they immediately pushed the talk of the eviction back. Like they were like, no, we're not doing this today. We're not talking about it today. And I was like, what? Like, why are we not talking about this today? It was scheduled. Like, why are they pushing this back? Like, this is so suspicious to me. What is going on? But the city attorney said that we could all still go up and speak and say general comment. So I basically I said like a whole thing, like a really emotional piece. But I was just like, we have enough Starbucks, like we have enough rooftop bars. We have all like this, like history can be gentrified. History can be innovated. Like, why are you trying to tear it down and take it away? It can still help your economy. Like as our generations go on, we can like modernize it. Like we can make it newer, but we don't have to kill it. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you planning? Like, and that's the thing. Like when I talked to the owner, when I was invited on Thursday, he had so many visions for the place. He was like, I want Olvera Street. I want drinking to come back. I want people to come here and have nightlife. I want it to be like New Orleans, where you walk down the street and there's music playing on our rooftop, live music and drinks and dancing. Like I want that part of Olvera Street back because it used to be like that back in the day.
Yeah.
It would be like full of nightlife. And now it's just like, which is great. Like people go there for field trips and stuff, but then it closes by like 4:00 and there's nothing there. But he sees like he has this whole vision for it, which I like see so clearly. Yes. But the city of LA doesn't want to listen.
Yeah, it's just like you're like speechless because it's like this has been a part of our city for how long, and the city is not even loving me back. Like, are you serious?
I know.
And you told us too, like there's other plans. There's some ridiculous plans that they want to put into motion to kind of like, I guess in some way liven up Olvera Street by taking away its, culture by making something else in its place.
Yeah, it's like I'm really nervous because they own the land. The restaurants are dying. Everything is dying. No one else can own the places. So when the city of LA, like when everything's gone, like the city of LA just has it. What are you going to do? You're just going to let it sit there? Or are you going to gentrify it to something else and completely tear it down? Like we've seen this before. Like we know how LA is. Like I don't trust them anymore. I'm really disappointed.
Yeah. It's hard because I think, look, I've lasted on a rant as long as I can.
Go for it.
But this is the thing is we're in this like political landscape where, we're post-COVID, we're post the previous presidency. I'm really not trying to be super political, but it is like these things like for anyone who was following, the Karen Bass election was like, it was democracy on the line once again of like, again, I hate that it's like, it keeps coming down to like, okay, well, like if this person gets recalled and then like this person doesn't get elected to the governor, then like this person has to be replaced. And like all of a sudden we don't have a majority anymore. And like now democracy is in danger. Like I cannot deal with that up and down anymore. So it's just like disappointing thing where it's like, oh my God, we did it. We got Karen Bass elected. She's doing so many incredible things. And I'm not fully faulting her. It's still only been her first year. And yet here we are. And you're like, right, but you're supposed to be like on our side. We got you into office. Mm-hmm. We elected the city council people, and we have a midterm election coming up like next week. Like you were supposed to be on our side, and then here we are, and nobody is. It's like, what the fuck have we been doing this whole time?
And I'm not to get political again, but a part of this fight is also with like the restaurant unions. La Golondrina had like unionized employees before the new owners stepped in for decades. But then COVID happened and there was nothing happening for a couple of years. And I guess like the contract ended. But then as soon as the union heard that the new owners came about and they were going to reopen, the union came and said, well, you have to hire all of us back. And like, this is the money that we need. And they're like, oh, like, sure, like we can, but like, we need to see a list of the employees that want to come back. And they couldn't give them a list. So they were really suspicious. Like the union was demanding money from them, but there was no like previous employees that they could give out and say like, hey, like they want to come back. It was really suspicious. And Kevin De Leon is in on it too. Like that's a whole nother thing. And there's just a lot of weird political drama in it as well. And I think that's why it's getting pushed back. Like there's something
else. Like there's a lot of weird undertones in it. I could tell. Yeah. Like it's just more than just like, oh, we just don't have the money. No, there's like a lot of like, there's a weird game of chess happening and, you know, within the scenes right there. And it's a little scary because you even mentioned that there was like a real estate developer in this meeting too that was just kind of like in the crowd, just who's been lingering around this area for 10 years and has plans on turning it into like somewhat of a gondola like structure to to take people to the Dodger Stadium.
And also what's nerve-wracking to me is that, you know, there are things that, so the manager of Olvera Street, I don't know their name. I don't even know who they are, but I heard these stories from a few people. The manager of Olvera Street has some weird relationship with the city of LA. He tells things about Olvera Street to them, and Olvera Street like trusts in him. Like, why are you telling them? Like, what is this weird relationship? Like, you're trying to be a mediator, but you're telling things to the city that the street doesn't want them to know. And like, it's really strange. Like the person that's in charge of the whole thing, the whole thing is like icky to me. It's just weird.
Well, they just have big flashing for sale signs on their foreheads. Like,
yep.
All right, your committee has a real estate developer. Of course they're going to vote. Like, come on.
Right? Like it doesn't make any sense.
And like, if you're gonna be a Disney villain, at least be an interesting one. Like, you're not even original. Like, God, at least like try and kill puppies or steal a mermaid's voice or something. Like, God damn, they're just so bad at it.
I know.
They're not even trying to hide it. They know.
No, they're not. That's the worst part. They're not.
They just know.
Trying.
They don't have to.
Yeah. It's been something that's been happening. Like, I mean, they've been in a lot of like deep trouble since the early 2000s. It's been a fight that I'm worried that they might even give up and just hand over the flag and the keys to the restaurant eventually, which is really sad.
It's really sad because I was listening to the other people in there, and their issues weren't with La Golondrina, but in the committee meeting, but they did say like, this is a big piece of real estate. Like, we're losing all the tourism. They're saying that out loud. They're like, we don't see as many tourists. We're like, it's empty. Like, what's going on? Like, and they're really like scared. These are like families, like old families that are just like crying for help. And I walked out of the meeting and there are these families like coming up to me and like hugging me and like saying, thank you for coming. Like, you're representing us really well. Like, we need this. Like, we need voices like this. Our voices need to be heard and they're not being heard. We appreciate you coming, because it feels like, I think for them, it just feels like the families are always complaining and like trying to stand up, but there's no one else there that's like with them. And that's what I'm trying to do, is like get as many people involved with them to stand up against this. Because I don't even think LA knows that, you know, I'm starting to do this and talking about it. And I don't think they ever thought anyone would, you know, they probably were just like, oh, it's just the families that are going to complain. Like, no one else is really going to know what's going on. No, like, I'm not letting that happen anymore.
Well, and that's what they're counting on. It's like, oh, we'll just do this quickly. We'll just like get it swept under the rug.
Yeah.
No one will know.
You'll
just drive by and be like, oh, that's sad. It used to be like this little cool place. And now it's like, I don't know, another Whole Foods or whatever it ends up being. Like,
because people here don't care.
No,
like that's
really
the thing. Like, when things get gentrified, people don't care. They're like, whatever.
No.
But like, we should care. Like, we should take care of things, because what's going to be left? You know, locals are leaving. Like, there's nothing for the locals here to do or to appreciate anymore. It's all going to be, I mean, I'm a transplant, but I can say like, it's going to be all these transplants who don't care, who want flashy things. And that's not how it should be.
Yeah.
Exactly. It makes you wonder what's going to happen to Chinatown and what's going to happen to Little Tokyo eventually. You know, even though there's a great big deal of support there, you just never know anymore because, you know, like you said, the city doesn't, the city just doesn't care. It's all about money and real estate. And it just seems like, you know, history and everything else gets bulldozed and buried, which is really, really sad.
You know, I've learned from making my own content that history can be innovative. Like, I've helped businesses that have been there for almost 100 years get a new crowd of people in because they love the new ghost stories. They didn't know who was there. Like, all these different things. Yes. They're not realizing, like, it helps the economy, and people really want to learn about history and cool things. They just don't know it's there. Yeah. People think that's cool, you know? So, yeah.
And I can speak from, like, my experience. I've been here for, like, again, I'm a transplant, but I've been here for almost 13 years now. And, like, when you first move here, there's just this idea in your head of, like, what you're supposed to do in LA. And it's very homogenized. It's like going out and it's the same club and it's the same people and it's celebrity chasing and it's nightclubs. And that's fine. I'm not trying to shame anybody that's doing that. For me, that was a very disingenuous experience. And then I started just burning out. It's exhausting. And then you start doing things that are, like, actually enjoyable to you, whatever that manifests as. It actually doesn't matter, but you start finding things. The city has so much to offer beyond the surface of, like, the Golden Globes or the Oscars. And it's just like, until you and again, that's me speaking as someone who's not been here that long, but long enough to realize, like, oh yeah, I don't want it to be like how Hollywood Boulevard is all over the city. Like, it's not sustainable. It's not fun. Like, we just cannot watch as our city gets turned into, like, a caricature of itself.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do with the Pico house. I mean, is that another demolition project too? You know, that's another one that's been a sitting duck as well.
So that's the thing is, like, someone wrote it in an article. They said, like, La Golondrina, if this doesn't get fixed, it's going to just be like Pico House, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Nothing to do.
Yeah. I mean, because that's what I noticed too. Every time I drive past it, I'm like, God, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the house? I was even told, there was a rumor that they were even going to turn it into condominium.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh, great. More unaffordable housing. Let's just fill it up with more unaffordable housing for foreigners to come in, swipe it up just so it could sit empty. Like, a lot of the places here that, you know, tends to be that way. And it's really sad. Yeah, that is just nothing but high rises. As we mentioned before, like, that's pretty much the big project of Sunset Boulevard. It's just going to be a boulevard of high rises. And I was watching this TikTok the other day, how all these businesses are just completely gone. They're just gone. It's nothing but for, like, lease signs, for sale signs. And these are places that have been there since, like, the 60s and 70s. Even while I was living there, they were thriving. And now all of a sudden it's like, nope, they're done. Like, it's just a bit of a ghost town. And unfortunately, you know, that's how it is in certain places in downtown Los Angeles. And I mean, look at what's going on with, with the Cecil at one point. It was going to be turned into an upscale hotel at some point as well. And I don't even know what is the update of that. I know that they have turned it into a majority of it into Section 8 housing. Yeah. But I don't know if that other plan, I think turning half of it into an upscale hotel for, you know, young, hip, working, professionals.
Yeah. I think at Alexandria Hotel too.
Oh,
Alexandria Hotel. Yeah. The low income housing. And from what I've heard from businesses, like, I don't know your opinion about low income housing. Like, you know, I'm all about, like, people being able to afford a place to live. But what I've heard from businesses on that street, like, really, really cool bars, is that, you know, since Alexandria turned into low income housing, the whole street is killed. The whole street's dead. No one wants to go. Like, that's it. Like, these businesses are all hurting because of it. And I don't know. It sucks. It's happening everywhere. Downtown LA is just like, it's crap right now.
It truly is. When I don't go down there that often, probably like every couple weeks or so. When I do, I feel every time it's like a ghost town that I do not recognize. What is going on?
So as of right now, I'm looking, the Gomez's, I believe it's the Gomez's, right? That are the family, it's the family behind the Golondrina. They are facing the eviction due to $242,000 in back rent and approximately $46,000 for a common area maintenance fee, which does not include interest charges, according to their documents. And I believe too, they also provided a $90,000 estimate to the city, according to more documents, to help with the repairs. But it doesn't seem like, like you said, it's just, nothing's moving. Nothing seems like there's no support for this area specifically for this restaurant, which is really, really sad. Ansley, I mean, are there websites or any sort of GoFundMes that we should know about for our listeners who want to help spread the word or also help donate to help save this piece of history?
So all I need is $20,000. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but when I post my video and it does its thing, my videos sometimes get 20, 30, 50,000 views. If one person just donated $1, this would be, because the $20,000 is going towards their attorney's fees. If the attorney can fight this lawsuit, then we won't have, they can just open. They don't owe all that money. If we just, invest in their attorney fees, they can fight for this and make sure that, LA takes this money away from, like, they don't need to pay for all of that. It's like not even their fault. Like, as I said before, the lease agreement states, like, they don't have, this is not their problem. It's the city's problem with the plumbing or the pipes and all that kind of stuff. It's not theirs.
Wow.
Only $20,000 just to help with just the lawyer's fees and everything. It seems like it would just like kind of kickstart everything else for them. That is so true. If only one person out of those views, like every single person that viewed it, can donate $1, I mean, that's all it could take. Bryce, how pretty are your feet for an OnlyFans? Like,
I'll have I watched a toddler today and he counted all 10 of my toes twice. So, hey up, boys.
I'm sure we can paint those bad boys.
That's right. These tootsies are here for justice.
At a toe ring, that's an extra incentive.
That is the thing. Like, look, ultimately, we're all here to and we are still going to we're here for the joy that these communities bring, and the ghost stories, and the spooks, and the food, and the drinks. Like, all of those are why we're actually here. Mm-hmm. But we don't get to just partake in the good. Like, we also have to be here through the thin. And so I get it. We all come from different places and have different experiences. And I also sometimes kind of roll my eyes when George Clooney gets up and he's talking about the Oscars and how progressive they are because only white men are getting nominated. I roll my eyes too, but we have a platform. We have people who are gracious enough to spend their time listening to us. We are responsible to not just participate in these communities when they are doing well. We also have to be there for them when they need help. I can't feel more strongly about that than I do.
Yeah, I said that in one of my videos. I was like, if you're a food creator in LA, you should be talking about this.
You're the only one I found talking about it. That's the saddest part.
That's another issue. There's people commenting on my TikTok, tagging other food creators, and they're not saying anything.
Yeah.
And it's so upsetting to me, showing true colors and thank you, to you guys, for doing this, because it's sad that there's no one talking about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's it's so hard because I get it. Sometimes it feels like you're just being inundated all the time. And it's we just did the episode about the Maryland house. Now here we are again. But that's what we have to do. That is the task, is to make sure that people know about it and that they cannot look away, because that is what the real estate developers want most of all, but everyone in power. Again, I'm honestly, swear to God, not trying to just constantly be ranting, but they succeed and win when we don't pay attention. And it's easier. It is easier to not speak out, to just let another fucking parking lot, go in. Like it's a lot easier. But like, what kind of world are we living in if that's what we let ourselves do?
What are we living for? History. Like, we're a part of history. What are we living for then if the things that we create in 100 years are going to go away? Like, we have to respect the people that have been here way before us.
Yes.
Exactly. Because if I see another little like social media creator who did nothing in the first place go to this place and gloat about it after everything is said and done, after it's been saved and they didn't lift a finger, I want to be pissed.
Yeah.
Because I started seeing that with the Marilyn Monroe house. Like, I'm like, all these creators showed up and I'm like, but you do a call to action. Like, oh, now all of a sudden it benefits you that it's saved now. And now it benefits you. And that's not how it should be.
You weren't there when I baked the bread and now you want the fucking bread.
I know.
Like, no.
No.
A little red hen. No.
I just found the GoFundMe, guys. If you just type in the search on GoFundMe.com, it's Casa La Golondrina Cafe. It's ran by David Gomez. They're trying to raise $20,000, and out of the 20,000, they've only reached to 536. Only 7 donors. It will be, 10 pretty soon because we're going to make a donation as well from our fund, and we're definitely going to share it on our Instagram and social medias as well, and also Facebook and so on and so forth. So if you guys can just go on there and even share it, donate $1, a little goes a long way, then that would really help these people out, help save a piece of history. So next time you go there, if it does open again, it will, let's put that energy out there, and you sit there with your phone recording your little margarita while telling a ghost story connected to this, which we'll get to soon. Think twice about that, just remember, like, this is what they need help for. They need to stay open for those things to happen eventually, but it's
and one more thing, like the money isn't going to waste because they have an extremely strong case, like extremely strong. Like, they're very confident. Like, they just need the money to do it. And, he walked me through the whole restaurant, and he has so many visions, and it's like beautiful to see. Like, I want it open just so he can just play with it, because it's so magical having someone who's been there for decades already, like, knowing the street and knowing what it needs. Like, he needs the opportunity to innovate it, because I know the other places will, and then we'll continue to innovate the history there, which is beautiful for people to need.
It is truly. I love what you said kind of at the beginning, like, you can modernize history. Like, no one is arguing that it shouldn't evolve. No one is arguing that it shouldn't adapt. If they were just saying, like, no, you can't make any changes, like, that's a separate conversation, but they're willing and wanting to work. They're willing and wanting to open. Like, this is the time.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, like, the young kids of the families that own these businesses, like, I understand if they don't want to sit there, like, on a boring street, like, doing the same old thing, like, but they should be able to do so and be able to innovate their own little vendors. And then that's how it goes. Like, it's generational. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a race to be cool.
Yeah.
Ansley, so you've developed a really good relationship with the family of this restaurant. And not only do you know them, but you also know the history and the haunted history of this cafe. So it's not just a piece of history that we were also trying to save. It's also a piece of haunted history, too, that serves as a remembrance that kind of echoes to all of us that enter there and have an experience, a shared experience. What are the ghost stories connected to this cafe that we should know about? And had you experienced anything there while visiting and shooting from that cafe?
So La Consuela is like the grandmother. She's like the one. She's like the OG of the restaurant. She used to live above. She's the OG. Okay, she used to live above the restaurant, and we went up there into the office, and you could still see like where the old bathroom was, like where her bedroom would have been, where her kitchen would have been. Now it's like a break room and offices now. But she had her own little house up there. She lived up there for a very long time until she passed. And, past employees have said that they've seen her walking around in a white dress in that area, like in the break room. Mr. Gomez, David, the guy that owns it now, he's a skeptic of ghosts. So when I asked him, he was like, if she was here, I would have seen her already. But I don't think he's like very open to that. But I have to say that, no, there are skeptics and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that she's not there. I'm a sensitive and I felt something there. And when I walk on Olvera Street, even when I went into the committee room, like I just felt like eyes on me. Like just all these people that have lived and died and worked there. Like there's so much energy on the street as a whole. And like, I just feel energy of like, help us. And I'm not just like saying that like to be dramatic. Like I'm actually saying that like when I step foot there, like I'm very emotional and I'm very like, mad about what's happening and like very passionate about it. And like, I still feel it now. Like whenever I talk about it, like, I don't know why I'm this passionate. I just feel like there's ancestors like underneath that ground that are like pushing us to do better and to like fight for them. Like it's so strong there. You can feel it everywhere, but definitely in the restaurant. La Consuela is chilling up there. I don't think she wants her home to be gone either.
No, absolutely not. I mean, if something were to be built over there, you'll feel her wrath and La Chancla. It's like, I felt like, can you imagine?
You don't want to
those stories. My head hurts like someone threw a chancla at it. Yeah.
I'll touch a Ouija board before I like face a chancla. Like on God, no, thank you.
On God,
no.
But also another cool thing, actually, there is a fireplace in there from the 1500s.
Oh my God,
the 1500s,
Crazy.
That old. It's ginormous. It's huge stone fireplace. It's beautiful. I'm sure there's some energy attached to that as well. Someone handmade that. It is gorgeous.
Wow.
It's like, it's so breathtaking to see things like, you don't see things like that anymore. And it's just LA at a restaurant.
Not in LA, especially.
But you think that area would be recognized as a cultural and historical monument, that it would be untouchable, right? Like you would think that.
Well, yeah, it's quote untouchable. That's what they want you to think. But you got to see like what's going on and how they're treating the people who are actually working there. And you see a different story. You see a different side.
I'm wondering if we could get that cafe to be recognized as that. Like, who's the council person that can make that happen? Like, do we need to send another email to Tracy Park? Like, Tracy?
Right? I need Tracy right now.
Yeah, we're going to have as like a designated site.
I want to try to contact our friend. Yeah, contact our friend at Rest in Peace Los Angeles to see if he knows anything, because that would be a really interesting thing to figure out, if there can be a motion where maybe something can start where it could be recognized as such, and then it wouldn't be touchable. Oh, that'd be really cool to know.
I don't understand.
Get to work, people.
I don't understand why it's all about the money there. Like you got to fix the pipes anyway. They're like 100, 200-year-old pipes.
Oh, that's the story of the city's life and streets. Every time I drive around, there's construction because the pipes dating back to like the 1900s bursted. They haven't.
That's the thing, is they're going to have to fix them no matter what. And these like real estate developers aren't going to pay for it. So it's like you're choosing the way of villainy. Like, why?
Like you're protecting the thing, aren't you? You're protecting it. So why are you doing this?
It's just
but it's not just La Golondrina that is also has a quite a few ghost stories. It seems like Olvera Street too has some ghost stories, and other businesses around there too. Do you know of any other places that have some haunted history attached to their establishments?
Yeah, the Avila Adobe, like the oldest house in Los Angeles.
Oh,
like
hell yeah!
There's one room in there that there's like a ghost. I think a ghost of a woman is in there as well. Obviously, like Pico House has a lot of stories, and actually the firehouse that's there used to be a saloon, like a saloon and bar back in the day. And there's some crazy energy there too of like, saloon women and men, like people have seen shadows there as well. Shadows, honestly, shadow figures are like the biggest part Like they see shadow figures all over the street.
Oh yeah, especially in the Pico house, Senor Pio Pico is still roaming around there trying to start a party like he did in the past. And people have claimed to see his apparition there. And I think Ghost Adventures did an episode there a long time ago as well.
Well, there truly is such an energy there.
It is.
Like you're saying, yeah, now it's a lot of like tours and school kids and things like that. But like there's just something palpable about the history of that place that just bleeds through every corner of that street.
And like a street that celebrates Dia de los Muertos super hard. Like they go hard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. Like, and they love it. Like that's a part of them, they don't view it as scary. They view it as like powerful and magical and like what keeps it going.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be wrong, but I was looking here that the Los Angeles Chinese Massacre of 1871, I think occurred around there as well. I think that was, it was close to one of the areas. So, I mean, there's so much that has gone around there and it's just, God, I would hate to see this place go. And then it'd be turned into like a man-made riverbed filled with gondolas to take you to the Los Angeles Dodger Stadium, which I'm just like mind blown about this plan, which
if you're at the Venetian in Vegas, like I don't understand, like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And the street, if you look at like the property is very big and they could do a lot with it. Like from Pico House all the way until the end of Olvera Street, like that's a ginormous property to do whatever you want with right in front of Union Station.
Right. It's super accessible. It's super central. Like,
if you guys want to help, follow Ansley of Spooky Foodie. I believe she still has her videos up along with the information for the GoFundMe. We're also going to be posting the GoFundMe links on our social media, along with other pieces of information to follow through with what's happening with this area. And hopefully, we get to see it for a very, very long time. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone out there can get some wheels in motion, a council person, someone that can help. Ansley, I mean, where can people find you to follow you and follow your stories and your updates in regards to La Golondrina and Olvera Street?
I'll be posting a lot more videos on my Instagram, which is Spooky Foodie, and my TikTok, which is Spooky Foodie as well. I'm having a new video coming up about my time there last week and talking about how to help and the story of the owners and everything.
Perfect. Well, guys, you heard it there first. Follow Spooky Foodie.
Yes.
Click on the links. Please help donate. This family just needs $20,000. I know, like for some people, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. For others, it does, but it would really help them out, especially during this time, because you never know. History will definitely be wiped away from this area, and it's just going to be more freaking like Orange Theories, gyms, and Starbucks and high rises that people can't afford to live in.
Yeah,
obviously. Thank you so much, Ansley, for being a part of this little mini-sode so we could get the word out, sharing a couple of ghost stories, and for participating in these meetings. Do you know if there's another meeting in the future that a lot of us can possibly participate in with you?
They have meetings weekly, but he doesn't know when their topic is going to come up. But when he does, I will post about it and he will definitely be posted. I'll let you all know too.
Yeah. Please.
Just keep following me and I will post it.
Yeah.
Sure. I want to get a whole group there.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes, indeed. All right, guys. So be sure to follow Ansley, her stories, and also follow the link once more. I know I keep on repeating myself, but this is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for tuning into our little mini-sode episode. Next week, we'll be sitting down with Tim Roddy of the Tim Roddy podcast to talk about haunted Los Angeles and more haunted history, of course, attached to this city that now has this major trend of erasing history. The city's going to be, well, it's already a ghost, but I think it's going to be a bigger ghost if, like, this is the outcome of a lot of things, which is really, really sad.
Yeah.
All right, Bryce, do you have anything else you'd like to say to any of our listeners?
Look, normally I just say bye here, but I also say stop erasing history.
Yeah.
Say bye.
Bye, guys. And take care and stay Holly weird.
All right.